The Last of Us Part 2 is dark. It's unforgiving, it's relentless, and it's cold. And when the credits rolled, I felt a deep sadness. Like a piece of me was gone. Like the future of these characters was out of my hands, and I can only hope they find happiness. This game is an experience. It's a joyless void of hatred and cruelty that will disturb you. It will make you pause the game for a breather, and at certain times, it had me saying, I don't want to do this. I have extremely mixed feelings about this game, but I do think that there are elements of this game that truly push the entire medium of games forward. Firstly is this game structure for telling an intertwining non-linear narrative that follows both Ellie and Abby and the many people they interact with. I don't think I've ever seen this style of storytelling done so effectively in a game before. Say you kill someone as Ellie. You have no attachment to them. You don't know who they were as a person or their story. But then we pick up the story as Abby days prior, where we meet these people who we just violently massacred, and we're given time to get to know them. It makes every conversation you have with them, be it about their future aspirations or simple melodrama, all the more tragic. And tragic is a fitting word for this game as a whole. We see these villains as people, not so different from Ellie and her people of Jackson, with relationships and problems, but I will talk more on that in a bit. The second thing this game excels in is its world design. It does such a beautiful job of showing you what the world would look like if everything just stopped. The environments are as beautiful as they are haunting, with such care and attention to detail. From cosmetic shops to courthouses to music stores and more. This overgrown, derelict urban landscape is industry-leading stunning. And these environments are now more open than ever, with tons of accessibility in and out of these abandoned stores and houses. There's also these moments when you are walking amongst a lively area of settlers or townsfolk, just going about their day, which is so impressive visually and technically, with so much going on at once. Now, technically, this game is a powerhouse. From lighting to character animations to water effects to fidelity, it's all there. Naughty Dog only continued to raise the bar in presentation to an astronomical degree. Now, let's talk about the story. It's huge, and it's punishing. Neil Druckmann, writer and director of both The Last of Us titles, said if the first game was about love, then this game is about hate. And he ran with that idea with a staggering devotion. There are very little feel-good moments in this game. And it's interesting. In the first game, the scene where Joel's daughter dies in the opening act was filmed over and over again. Each time Neil was dialing back the explosive performance of Troy Baker until it became a more subtle, quietly devastating moment. And this direction to bring it down was extremely effective. I know I cried and still regard that moment as one of the most powerful scenes in gaming. But where was that subtlety in this game? Everything's cranked up to 11 at all times, and honestly, Dunkey said it best.
It's all the grotesque gore that people desire from this type of game taken to such a degree where you go, Jesus Christ.
The lengths this game goes to shock you with gore and brutality can be off-putting at times, and there are parts in this game that I have no idea how they made it past a ratings board. This game is about revenge, and how it can consume someone. Also how it can turn into this never-ending loop of pain and violence. One of this game's biggest challenges was trying to humanize the quote-unquote villains, a feat that I would say they achieved. Through alternating perspectives, we see why these characters feel like the other is the bad guy and why their crusade is just. Though this idea may have been more well received if we weren't already heavily favoring one side. But that being said, I felt the time with Abby was surprisingly enjoyable, and some of the game's strongest moments come from her side of this tale. Though an impressive feat in storytelling, this approach loses most of the focus from the original. The simple relationship between two people. This focus is why we grew to love them so much in the first place. We are treated to a few pleasant flashbacks of Joel and Ellie when Ellie was still young, and it makes you go, man, I wish they made a whole game like this. But then you go, oh yeah, they did. I can't say I love this game, but I can't say I hated it either. I simply experienced it. This game is like going to war. You are forced to do things that you don't want to do. You drag yourself through the deepest trenches, and when it's all over, you ask yourself, was it all worth it? The survival elements of this game always have you on the tip of your toes in a tense dance of limited resources and spur-of-the-moment decisions. You find yourself constantly evaluating your inventory to make sure that if something were to go sideways, then hopefully you were prepared. Though sometimes this can get in the game's way. Sometimes the beauty of these areas you're scavenging through takes second place to the need to find stuff. This has you immediately hovering over every countertop and table in search of something to press triangle on to collect. This can sometimes feel cumbersome, though if you decide to take the extra minute out of your way or find that open window that will lead you to a previously inaccessible room, you are often rewarded with extra goodies. This is the most robust combat gameplay Naughty Dog has conceived. Everything from weighty hand-to-hand combat to traps to diversions to gunplay, everything feels coherent, and when it all works, it's extremely satisfying. The brutality of combat is also put on full display. This game is extremely violent. You can shoot a guy with a shotgun and severed limbs can be found splayed on the ground. You can blow a guy up and watch as pieces of flesh drip from the ceiling in pulpy chunks. It's grotesque and vulgar. But this is the world we find our characters living in, and by proxy, ourselves. The Last of Us Part 2 is a haunting look at what humans can do to each other. And in that regard, it should make you want to look away to prove that you yourself haven't sunk to that level. But it makes it hard sometimes to carry on. It's hard to see characters we've grown to love go through such unimaginable pain. To see them consumed by so much hate and cruelty. And it makes this game hard to recommend. But I do hope to see these characters again though. I hope they can find peace within themselves for what they have done. I do hope they can move on from this time of great tragedy, and I wish them the best now that this bloody crusade is over.